I want to welcome everyone to a very special coverage of the Majors. It is the 2015 Masters Tournament. Augusta National, Georgia, Augusta, Georgia, Washington Road, all the highlights, all the prestige that is the Masters.
Yes.
Hugh Roy III, George Honeycutt joining you here for coverage of the Majors here on TGD TV and TGD Radio. What we're going to do for you today is we're going to cover the front nine. We're going to go through hole by hole, and with the pros' advice here and some dialogue and some attention to detail, we're going to cover hole by hole as to how they should be played by these guys.
Yeah, well, this golf course is one of those. It's different, and they've changed it every year. They change something. They haven't told us what they've changed this year, but it'll be interesting to see.
Well, we remember throughout the years we've covered this exhaustively here in the history of Augusta National. But again, when Alistair McKenzie was basically asked by Bobby Jones to assist him in putting this course together, there was some basic principles that they used in laying out these holes. And the one that first was primarily on the list is that they wanted to collaborate and make the holes to the point where the players would always have an option out, and to where the holes laid out there in front of you, you can either hit it in the optimal spots, or if you miss the optimal spots, you at least have the opportunity to correct yourself. And it, although may not be the greatest percentage of correction that you could get, but you would at least have the opportunity. And one other thing, too, I want to note for our viewers and listeners of Augusta, if you have the wonderful opportunity of attending and actually being on property, I would highly recommend that you go behind each green, walk up behind each green at Augusta National, and look back toward the fairways. And one thing you'll notice, one thing that'll maybe you haven't picked up before, but you will pick up now that I've mentioned it to you, is you will not see any bunkers from the greens. You will not see the white of bunkers. You will see what looks like mounding, but you will not see the sand itself. And that was one of Alistair McKenzie's things.
Yes.
He wanted the views from the greens, the various greens around Augusta National, to be one of pristine. And all you did when you looked from a green back down toward the tee box or back down the hill or up the hill or wherever you were looking, you would basically see rolling hills and the flowers and the trees.
And that's the thing, George. I mean, you walk up number one, and you come in, and, I'll never forget Heather talking about her father after, his cancer bout and whatnot, getting to go to Augusta for the first time, walking through the gates by the scoreboard, and then as he walked through the crosswalk there and looked up to the left at the tee box and then looked up to the right at the bunker and towards the green, bent down and kissed the grass and just started crying because the place is just that special. And what you don't realize is when you walk up the right side of that fairway, up to the right of the bunker, and turn around and look back at that tee, how much it is uphill
Dramatically
from the bottom to that tee box. But then again, when you get up by the bunker and you look how much you're looking downhill at that tee, that hole is so much more uphill than people realize. It's unbelievable.
Now, number one, by name, is referred to as Tee Olive. It is a par 4 that normally plays around 445 to 450 yards. As Hugh so expertly described, there is a bunker up on the right-hand side of the fairway, and for the longer hitters, if they want to take on that bunker and not turn the ball away from it, they're going to have to carry it 300 to 305 yards to carry the edge of that bunker. Basically, the way the green is shaped, the pin positions that are on the green, and specifically, Hugh, day one, the first green at Augusta National is a 3-tier green. There's 3 distinct shelves on this green, front lower, then there's a back left lower, and then there's a back right upper. Mm-hmm. And the pin normally on day one sits in the back right upper. And so that is really a pin position that you don't really go firing at. You kind of play guarded to the middle part of the green. If you're able to come in with a short enough wedge to get enough spin on it to hold it up there, then sure, attack the pin. But more than likely, you're going to end up just right, which will catch the runoff, and you'll end up with a chip that you're trying to stop short-sided. And then the back left area is, again, an area you can come into by drawing the ball, by getting it to check up, and then releasing down the slope. The front pin positions, the players love the best because it's attackable. They can get it.
It is, if you put the ball in the fairway.
But they do not want to enter into the bunker just front left of the green on number 1 either. So although unless that pin's back right, it's a relatively easy up and down. Yeah. But again, a solid 4 on number 1, tee olive, is a good score, believe it or not. You're not going to have a lot of birdies on number 1, although it's pretty much straight away. They describe it as a little bit of dogleg right. It's pretty much straight away.
It's pretty straight away. The only reason it makes it dogleg right is because of the big fairway bunker. But the fact is that, you struggle with your second shot into number 1 because it is uphill. The ball, your left foot is always higher than your right if you're right-handed. And, it's hard to get the right club in your hand. So making 4 there and getting out is not a bad option.
I agree. So we've made 4, number 1. We move over just a short walk over to the tee box, which is moved back into the trees, and which is, of course, pink dogwood, number 2, a par 5, 575 yards, that is coming out of a chute of the tall pine trees. And you'll see the name of the hole itself, Pink Dogwoods, by the pink dogwoods that outline both sides of the fairway, both left and right. And you've got an abrupt dogleg that sits out about 270 yards from the tee box. And the players will be aiming just down the middle of this fairway and hoping for a little draw to catch the corner and come partly down the hill that is the downward elevation slope that this fairway begins at the turn and then starts going all the way down about 45 feet down to the green surface.
Yeah, they need to, this on the second hole here at Augusta, people don't realize how tight this hole is off the tee box. And it's one where you set up, you aim it at that fairway bunker, and you're trying to hook it. You don't worry about hitting it straight. You want to hit it at that bunker. If it turns over, great. If it doesn't, it goes in the bunker. You can lay it up down there, then it gives you a full wedge. You do something crazy and you try to hit it down the fairway and try to bomb it, you pull it a touch, and it bounces a little left and goes left. There, even though it's a long ways down there, George, there's a lot of slope to get to that creek down there, and it doesn't take much to get there.
Well, Tiger is absolutely famous on 2 for trying to turn it over and always seeming to be down in the trees, down toward that creek that is down in the trees, that you, the spectators, will not be able to get over there and see.
You don't even know it's there.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing, and it's just one of those where, if you hit it at the bunker and it turns over, great. If it doesn't, it's not going to hurt you because unless you are one of the longer players, you're not going to get there in 2.
We've seen some marvelous shots played at hole number 2. Of course, most memorable was probably Jose Maria in his approach. We've seen the likes of, Gary Player throwing shots into there from wedge out. He always tried to go for it, but it always seemed to come up front left. We've seen Greg Norman in the years past throw that 2-iron from around the corner. So we just have these nostalgic legends of the game that we remember specifically on hole number 2. But really, the hole itself is the green itself is kidney-shaped with that bunker that protects front right.
Yes.
And the green kind of wraps itself around that bunker. And so thusly, a lot of times you can have an eagle putt, but it's 90 feet. And it's probably going to break 8 to 10 feet from left to right, especially if that pin's tucked in that right-hand side.
No, I mean, you just think about Oosthuizen, last year. I mean, he hits the second shot in there, and it's, oops, look at here. It's a 2. I mean, things happen, and Augusta can give you things that you're not expecting. You're trying to play a smart shot, put it in the middle of the green. You catch a slope, next thing you know, it's down there a foot from the hole or it goes in. I think Mr. Nicholas put it best when he was talking to McElroy when he was up there last week when McElroy was playing. He said, just go out and hit fairways, put it in the middle of the green, and then just observe from there.
Number 3 is exactly that. It is a shorter par 4. Pretty much you walk from the green at number 2 about 35 yards over, and you're standing on the tee box for number 3. It's a slight uphill, par 4, and you'll see the players there taking anywhere from long iron to 3-wood. Some of them even may hit driver. I remember some time back, Tim Clark was paired with Tiger, and Tim just happened to run in a great birdie putt on 2, and I think it kind of got in Tiger's crawl because when he left the green, Stevie had given him a 3-wood, and when Clark makes the birdie on 2 and they're walking to 3 tee box, Tiger goes back over to the bag and gets driver and just absolutely nails one that comes up about 20 yards short of the bunkers front left. And so, and Tim hit driver, but of course he was 60 yards behind Tiger.
Oh, yeah. It looked like he's in the group
and making jokes about it on the way up with the spectators.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was asking Tiger how the weather was up there.
Yeah.
So this whole, although it's not that long, it's not that breathtaking, it's not. What's interesting about the third hole, Hugh, is the green. Is that little menacing green up there that sits there. You're probably coming in with a 9-iron, a wedge, even an 8-iron maybe for the shorter hitters. But if you don't catch the right slopes on the third green, then you're going to find yourself with a putt that probably breaks as much as it is far away.
No, I put it to you this way, George. I don't care what you're hitting into that green, whether it's a 9-iron, it's a sand wedge, or a lob wedge. Every shot you hit at that green is right of the pin, no matter where the pin is.
Has to be right.
If it's not, it's going to run 30, 40 feet left, and a lot of times it'll come all the way off the green.
Off the back of the green.
Yep.
So, again, that's number 3, 350-yard par 4. Really, it plays, they'll have it at 315. They'll have it at 320. They'll move about 30 yards on the tee box. But you really won't see too many guys going for, quote-unquote, the green, just simply because it is such a smallish landing area up there between the bunkers and the way the fairway tilts. They could find themselves left down into the rough area, or even, if they really snap it, find themselves into the trees again. So you won't find a lot of them really going after this hole hard. So number 4, Flowering Crabapple, is a spectacular par 3 that will play about 190 yards on average. They can get it up there to 205, 208, and they rarely will go below 190. But number 4 is just a marvelous par 3 because, again, the greens. It's just, where are they putting that pin?
You just don't have a lot of green there, and where you do is in the left-hand side. You've got the bunker left, you got the bunker front right. They're both deep. I mean, this hole right here can get up to 225 to 228 yards long. The thing about it, you look at this hole, and you look at it and you go, okay. I mean, it's a green sitting in the side of a slope. Your tee's back here in the tree,
and you're elevated.
And everybody goes, okay, it's just long. But I mean, the green itself is so narrow in spots that if honestly, if you don't take it in the middle of the green and work it left or right, if the pin is anywhere from center to back right, there's no way to hold it.
Number 4, you mentioned number 1 being you want to stay right side of the green. Number 4 is really that first green where you go out all 4 days. Let's say you're lucky enough to play all 4 days. You go out all 4 days. You just want to hit your tee ball in the middle of that green.
You want to make 3 and get the heck out.
All 4 days.
I don't care about Bert. Just give me a 3 and let me go to 5. Because if you can get through the first 5 holes at Augusta National at even par or better,
good point.
You got a chance to play some golf.
Good point. Good point. Well, let's leave the par 3, number 4, and let's go to number 5, Magnolia. And, folks, if you want to see a true par 4, this is it.
It is.
It is a spectacular hole. It is so difficult to walk.
And they used to let you stand behind the tee, but now they've moved the tee back so far you can't do it, because that's where my stepdaughter Leanne's grandfather used to sit, right behind that tee box, and watch everybody tee off. And they've taken that away. But I tell you what, you talk about, don't worry about getting any roll on this hole, because you're hitting into a hill.
It's
going to
hill.
hit, it's going to stop.
Into a hill with bunkers on the left-hand side that the TV really doesn't do it justice, in the fact that you stand in these bunkers and you cannot see the green. And more than likely, you're not going to be able to see your playing partners, your opponents, standing in the fairway.
Well, the problem is you can put it in the fairway bunker and you can have a perfect lie. But you're going to have to hook it 15 to 20 yards just to get it to the green.
Get it to the green.
Because you've got trees that come out on your left right there in front of you that block you to be able to shoot it straight to the green.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, for guys not – I don't care if it's adding 15 yards to your second shot, you better be shooting it up that right side, because you can land a Learjet over there if you need to. And if you're messing with those bunkers on the left, that's just your own stupidity or mistake or your nerves. Because if you put it in there, that is a huge
Well, you do
mistake.
often find that most players that end up in the bunkers on number 5, Magnolia, that's just it. They've pulled their drive, they've overhooked it, they've overcooked
trying to
it, whatever
hit it too
may
hard
be,
instead of put it in play.
or they set up for the fade and they pulled it or tugged it or whatever, or double crossed themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, being over there, you're playing anything to make 5. You want to make a bogey and get out of there if you're in those bunkers. I saw Jordan Spieth last year. He got in the bunkers on day 1, and literally he walked out of there. He had to make a 4.5-footer slider downhill for bogey, and he made the putt, and you just saw his face fill back up with blood because he was turning white. He saw triple staring him in the face just coming from that bunker.
No, it's and that's the thing. It's just you've got to. Why do you think Jack Nicklaus was so good around this golf course? He knew how to think his way around and manage his golf ball. I mean, that's why.
And take these hazards, these little snippets of hazards. I mean, there's not ponds, lakes, fountains. There's not all this. It's just these little drops of trouble areas.
Exactly. And it's a little bitty slope here, a little bitty slope there.
Bingo.
And you better know where they are.
And number 5, I mean, even around the putting surface on number 5, Magnolia, the par 4, 455-yard hole, there's some large humps in the green itself that make this even more of a challenge. So you've got to hit your ball in the right place with your approach shot. Otherwise, you're chasing a 3-putt.
And there are a lot of people, George, that really complain about this green, that say it's goofy golf.
Unfair.
Because the length of the hole, it could be. But you know what?
And then you hear Ben Crenshaw say, well, they just need to learn to putt.
Well, exactly.
So that would be your response too, but Hugh, by the way.
No, I know.
Number 6, Juniper. It's a par 3, 180-yard. And much like 4, you're looking at an elevation change here with Juniper. However, it's an easier hole. This normally plays below par. So the players are kind of looking to get their ball somewhat relatively close, and they try to keep it below the cup. They really don't want to come back down the slope, that is from back to front. But really, you don't want to just, if you get yourself from this 180-yard par 3 on the right side of the green, then you've got a great opportunity for birdie. Would you say, Hugh?
Yes.
Okay. Number 6, Juniper, again, beautiful golf hole, a wonderful place actually to go, and if you're there as a spectator, you can go and sit on the bank that is below the tee box, and you can actually hear and see the balls come flying over your head and land on the green right there in front of you. And then also, too, you can look to your right, and you have full view of number 16. So it's a beautiful spot to sit, actually. Not bad at all.
No, not at all.
And one of the sandwich shops is right there. The tents is right there.
Oh, it's right
You know
there
where
in the
I-
tree.
yeah.
I know exactly where you're talking.
So you could tell that I've been to the sandwich tent a
Yes.
few times. Yeah. Nothing like a palmated cheese. Ooh, baby. God, that's good stuff. All right, number 7. Let's move on. Again, coverage of the 2015 Masters. We're going to Pampas. That is a par 4, 450 yards. And what really makes this hole just such a focus-generated type of shot hole is the tee ball. You've got what looks like to be about 12 yards wide to get it out of the chute.
It is. It's that way the whole way up. That's why I wonder why they changed it and lengthened it the way they did. Because I love the fact that I honestly think if it's easier now hitting an 8-iron in there than it was hitting wedges like they used to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's not a very big green, but when you hit wedges in there and they were spinning, it was hard to control it.
Right.
Now you've got to where you can take it in there with less spin, and it makes it a little easier.
Well, you're looking for the players to tee off on number 7 as down the left-hand side, let it catch the upper left of the fairway because it slopes hard from top left to down right. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them will find if their ball lands in the middle of the fairway after a great drive, don't get me wrong, they're going to pump it out there 300, but it's going to hit and then kick just enough to get to the edge of the tree lines. And then that tree line is, and what little bit of rough there will be at Augusta will come into play.
Yes.
So a wonderful hole. And you stand on the tee box at number 7 and you look and you go, how do they get it out from between those trees? It's one of those holes where you're sitting there going, man, I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah.
So
would you? I agree.
I mean, of course, for you, it'd be no problem. But for me, I sit and wonder. So number 7, Pampas, of course, par 4, 450 yards. Then we get to number 8. And number 8 is always that thrilling hole where it always makes the highlight reels every day because that is the first real opportunity for eagle, if not a guaranteed birdie. But then again, too, you could find yourself trying to catch up and chip up and then try to get down in 2 just to make par.
Yeah, and, I don't say there's any guarantees anywhere, but it's one of those that if you put it in a fairway, George, it's a hole and you've known me long enough. Hitting a hook is not an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the few holes that I've ever played that I actually could not hook it enough with my second shot. That's how far that green will sit behind there. And it's just a hard one to get yourself to do that because if you miss it left, it's going over there the other side of number 2.
Using your second shot to go for the green, you're uphill. It's a blind shot. You do not see the green. You do not see the pin. And first, you must avoid a large fairway bunker, basically that sits in the landing area on this par 5. If you can avoid that, be in the center cut, again, you'll see everybody to a man go for this in some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
Whether they know that they're just going to be up front right and come up short, or whether they truly know that they're going to get there, and you'll even see some of them taking longer irons up this hill, like a Rory McIlroy. And but however, the length of the green, it's an extremely long green as far as not that wide, but in relation to square footage.
And the mounding on the right of that green causes a problem for those that go for it that don't turn it over enough, and now they've got a pitch shot across, a dead elephant grave. And
the mounding on the left could be of help.
Oh, yes.
Because we've seen many shots get pulled and hooked or faded wherever. If it's a Phil Mickelson, we've seen this specifically. If you get up there front left, the mounding there will actually kick the ball back on the green and give you what you thought was going to be a chip for eagle.
Yes.
And now you've got a real eagle opportunity in a putt. So it's a risk reward hole, but then again too, it's just a lot of fun because you can get some low numbers, you can get a big shift in the score. If you've got some close competition going into day 4 especially. 8 is where something could change the tides right there off the bat. So before they even reach what is, we know that the Masters is the back 9 on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
So
absolutely.
Great hole. I enjoy watching it. I always enjoy going up by the green and watching the inbound shots. You follow, of course, the pairing sheets so you can pretty much figure out who just left the green and who's coming up next. And you can always kind of take a guess on whose ball that was and whose ball that was. So it just adds again to the mystique and the aura that is Augusta National. So number 8, of course, Yellow Jasmine, par 5, 570 yards. And then, Hugh, we get into number 9, which I think is one of the better holes on this golf course. I love number 9. And number 9 is not so much a hard driving hole as it is you want to put your ball on your drive in the most optimal position to control the club head on your second shot, so not to put too much spin or come enough dead hands at it or get it on the right quadrant of this green, because the green on number 9 is devilish.
It's devilish because you've got the 3 different levels. It's very deep, and it goes. The whole green goes as it moves up to each level is going uphill. And the thing nowadays, George, that I've noticed, and going back and over the years watching it, you used to watch the guys hit their hooks down there and run it down there into the crosswalks and that kind of stuff. You don't see that as much anymore. You see a lot of guys struggling off that tee box because of modern equipment not being able to turn the ball the way they used to. A lot of 3-woods off this hole, a lot longer irons into this green because they have to hit something that they can turn around that corner. Because the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of guys playing from the right trees.
But several of the guys, too, including Tiger Woods, found that the shorter irons that they had into this green, wedges, the 9-iron, whatever, created too much spin.
Yes.
And they would find themselves hitting the green surface, but it would spin back off the front, come all the way back down the hill, and now they're chipping from 80 yards off the green back up for their third.
Oh, yeah, or they would hit something in there, a little extra club trying to hit it soft, and it wouldn't spin. Now they've got that devilish downhill, different level type.
And you just hope that you got enough brakes on the ball to get it to stop.
It is, and that's Augusta, and that's just where, it's a matter of understanding it, having a game plan, sticking to it, and not varying. Because if you start varying from a game plan, this golf course will absolutely annihilate.
We so remember Seve, the wonderful Seve Ballesteros, on Sunday. He was in the hunt. He was making his move, and I remember his approach shot to there, and you could hear him hollering from the fairway, "Stop, stop, stop," because it literally hit the green. It started trickling. It started coming back down toward the hole, and he just knew it was going to roll off the front of the green. It was just coming off the green. And miraculously, whether it was a bug or whatever, it just miraculously stops, leaves him about 6 foot below the pin, and he ends up making the birdie putt.
Yeah, it could. Back then, it could have been a spike mark, so you never know.
Very good. Very
we still
well
wore
could have been.
nails back then. But, and you go back and look at this tournament. I mean, it's just so many great things. And you can go to each hole and go through the history and the films from years past. Something happened on each one of these holes that we just talked about to change a golf tournament and either take somebody out of the tournament or to put somebody into the tournament.
And I pick up on what you just said as we exit here, our coverage of the front 9, of course, at Augusta National. You just made the statement, either take them out of the tournament or put them in the tournament. And that is the front 9 of Augusta National.
That's exactly right. This is where you can line yourself up to have that opportunity to make the run.
People say it's the back 9 on Sunday afternoon.
And it is.
It is.
It is. But you've got to get yourself
there you go.
To that specific point to where you can run. And then once you get to the back 9, you better buckle up, strap in, and get ready to go.
We hope you enjoyed the coverage of the front 9 of Augusta National 2015 Masters here on coverage of the majors. And again, Hugh Roy III giving us his expert advice and discussion here on how to play the holes. We'll be coming to you further with the back 9 coverage, and looking forward very much to that. So, again, coverage of the majors here on TGD TV and TGD Radio. TGD Radio and TV are produced and broadcast by Zeus Radio Network for thegolfdirector.com. Visit our Golf Director site. Be sure to check out our featured course pages where you'll find up-to-date information about course conditions, specials, and much more. Need help with your next golf vacation? Just call Dave here at the Golf Director, 844-GO-GOLF-1, 844-464-6531. All of our programming is archived for listening and viewing on demand. To catch up on any show you may have missed, click on the TGD Radio or the TGD TV tabs in the menu screen at thegolfdirector.com. We're now available on over 1 billion devices at iTunes, Audio Realm, TuneIn, YouTube, Ustream, Roku, Blueberry, and Myrtle Beach Golf app. For Hugh Roy III, I'm George Honeycutt. And for Big D Behind the Glass, thank you so much for tuning in. Coverage of the majors here at TGD. There's more golf news and information coming up next.